This is Soul Side Up. I'm your host, Sol. Welcome to an hour of beautiful conversation. Open your heart and enjoy.
Hi everyone, this is Sol on Soul Side Up, and today we're going to have a little, I'm having a friend from Russia over at the channel, but I just wanted to share a little bit of astro intel before we got that far. He's not an astrologer per se, so, it's maybe not that interesting for him to listen to all my astrology talk, and wouldn't maybe not be relevant for him as well. So yeah. We are now in this particular situation where the world is on, feeling all these ancient old energies again. And it's, for me, it's been like the last week I've been trying to kind of get some perspectives on it. And I haven't been, going so deep into the energy of it because it's old energies. And astrology is a study of cycles, and we constantly go back in time to see the way forward. And there are some unresolved issues coming up again, which we can see very much with the Pluto return of the United States chart. We use the July 4th in 1776, where Pluto is 27 degrees Capricorn. And the last time it was in Capricorn at those degrees was in 1776. So for years, astrologers have been talking about the years from 2020 and on to 2025 as very potent and important years for humanity. And now we're here. And I remember I was in Hawaii in 2011, and I had the great privilege of listening to one of Richard Tarnas's talks. And he spoke about 2018, 19, 20, and he was going into these larger cycles. And at that point, my astrological practice was much more about just personal stuff and reading charts. And, I was in a different spot. So my mind wasn't as deep into the bigger cycles as it is now, after all these huge cycles of Pluto-Uranus square between 2012 and 2015, the Uranus-Saturn square of last year, and now this Pluto return, which is coming in strongly. And there are, of course, many other cycles that's been happening. The Saturn Pluto conjunction of 2020 was a very important one, and absolutely a conjunction that that is kind of framing the whole time period that we're in right now. Back in the days, for the First World War, there was a Saturn-Pluto conjunction happening in the early degrees of Cancer. And Cancer is a family-oriented sign. And by that time, in that period, the whole of Europe was sort of, the whole of the European royalties were sort of tied in through blood. He was the cousin of that cousin, and the king over there, he was related to the king over here. And suddenly, in 1 week, the whole of Europe was at war, thanks to the assassination of the Archduke in Serbia. And Serbs wanted to, create a revolution, and it ended up becoming a European world war, in the sense that bigger forces had to move in eventually and help us, help Europe. So it ended up creating a situation that created another situation that's called the Treaty of Versailles. And in the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to pay really hard for their family dispute with King George. And they were cousins, and they were also cousins with the Tsar of Russia. And the Tsar of Russia was assassinated, and there was a revolution in Russia, and the communist rule took over. Whereas in Europe, things happened so that these socio-political dynamics were, not in the hands of of the Kaiser so much, or of, like the kings so much. They took a different role after that. But anyhow, the Treaty of Versailles um, ended up putting Germany in such a situation that it directly led to World War II. You know, if it hadn't been for the Treaty of Versailles, you wouldn't have had a Hitler, that's for sure. And so there were consequences in the way this conflict was handled in the aftermath. And then the World War II, there was things, the UN was after World War II, which started with the Saturn Pluto square. After World War II, United Nations were established, and the State of Israel was established as a direct consequence of the slaughters of the Jews. And it's been a challenging thing ever since. There's been wars fought. There's been disputes inside of Israel between the Palestinians and the Israelis. It's been leading to a lot of situations internationally that's also been dangerous. And also, you had something happening, the Cold War. So I'm no expert in geopolitics, that's for sure. But like the big pictures, you can sort of kind of see a little bit what's going on. That there's been something unresolved from the Second World War, and the Cold War is part of that. And now we're back here. We're back there. Oh, back here again. We're coming back full circle. Something's happening, and it's the East and the West. It's separatism versus globalism. It's um, money, and now the ruling elite. Who are they? Are they the royals now? Now Pluto is in Capricorn. Pluto was in Cancer, which is family. The royals used to be family. It used to be inherited power. Now the royals in our societies, if you look at to the United States, it's actually, sometimes I think the Kardashians are sort of the royals of Hollywood these days. I mean, they certainly appear so in a way. They've been treated in the same way in a way, but they made their own fortunes. They are the rich ones, the money power. And now Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is also a sign of all the social structures that we created, the cultural structures, how power is distributed, who gets the power, and yeah, how we now have an oligarchy of rich people who have a massive amount of political influence. We saw that just recently, um, in a good way, actually, when Elon Musk turned on the SpaceX satellites so that the Ukrainians could have internet communication. That was in the hands of a private enterprise. Well, sure, you can have, no, you can talk to each other now. That would be a symbol of how much power lies in the hands of private enterprise right now. And we see how everything is also, being a little bit. There's this story that goes on right next to this war is also the story of how the oligarchs of Russia are getting their yachts taken away from them, and people are losing money. There's like fortunes being loosed here now. And I don't know how to kind of judge it yet because we're in the middle of everything, but I know for sure that some of the systematical changes that a lot of astrologers have been talking about when it comes to the Pluto return of the United States has to do with how power is being distributed. And there's like this power shift going on. And in January 2020, there was a new conjunction between Saturn and Pluto. And that's what we're experiencing now. In a way, absolutely, some, are starting to use the word the Third World War. The Third World War is not the type of war that we've seen with the First and the Second World War. If you've looked into those, you know exactly how brutal and bloody, and the numbers of fatalities involved is just too much to take in. There were generations of young people dying in these wars, and that's resources out the window, you know? I mean, we've been taking and killing resources for such a long time, and it's the human resource that we are sending into war. And and I think at one point, capitalism also ensures that it won't be destroying all the infrastructures, because then the foundation upon which capitalism, which is logistics, it's trade, it's all these trade unions, that would sort of fall into pieces. So there are economical interests behind everything, and I don't think necessarily that's just a bad thing. Sometimes you might think that, oh, thank God, China is trading so high volumes with the United States, because otherwise, maybe they wouldn't be so diplomatic. They're interested in keeping the business balance going. So it might actually prevent a full scale war. This is oddly enough, because at the same time, we have a larger crisis looming in the background, and it's the ecological and crisis that we sooner or later have to face. But Uranus was in Taurus in 1938 when Hitler rose to power. And it is about resources, about the scarcity of resources. Now we will see probably, huge rise in energy prices, and this wound of poverty will maybe be lit again. We've had some good years. A lot of us, Russia had their growth in income and lifestyle, and we've seen that in many, many countries across the world, that people are more comfortable now, economically speaking. So maybe we are having to save a little bit, all of us, in the future, or we have to pay so much for the gas, or there's going to be some weird inflation coming out of this. But inside all of this, it's also about our human development. It's also about us being able to meet each other despite differences, despite not always agreeing. Because most of us inside just wants to live peacefully. We just want to do what we want to do. We don't want to have to deal with war. Why can't we just be safe and just do this in peace? And I believe that we won't get peace until I choose it for me in my life, until I learn how to forgive, until I learn how to put the past behind me, right? If I keep holding on to grudges, it won't happen that I will find peace in this lifetime. And it has to happen for all of us. It doesn't really matter how big your pain is, because there might not be the type of justice that you're looking for. Like somebody's going to come up and say, oh, I'm terribly sorry. That might not happen. There's a possibility it might not happen. And then the only person really suffering is the person holding the grudge. And it's also creating toxic energy into societies that really, really is looking for compassion, connection, cooperation, the whole thing that is the Aquarian age. And we are at the end of an astrological age, so some of our old values are bound to be destroyed or destructed, transformed. And the new values, those that are the promise of the Aquarian age, is one where we are uniquely contributing to society, where we are being seen, valued, and appreciated, and we contribute into the whole as a group, and maybe not so much thinking of our ancestry or race or um, social status. It's more about, what do you have to give? What do you have to contribute with? Are you ready to co-create? So that would be my hope for the years to come, that more and more people will see that, okay, if I just spew my shit into my surroundings all the time, I'm going to be walking around in a toxic forest sooner or later, and I'm going to destroy the joy of other people. If I do the other thing, if I promise to be honest with my feelings, of course, but also work on letting them go because I see a bigger vision, I see a bigger picture, and I need to get my ego off the road so that I can get there. Then I'll go for that because that would help not just me, but everybody around me. So that's what I hope. So yeah, so that's the astrological thing, the umbrella that would be um, appropriate for this next interview. And here we go, Dimitri.
Mhm.
Hi everyone, this is Sol, and today I am I've had the great pleasure of inviting a friend of mine from currently living in Tel Aviv, but originally from Ufa in Russia. Hi Dimitri, it's so nice of you to pop up
I
here today.
so I have a great pleasure of having a conversation with you.
Yeah, well, in my world, you know, we are the world of astrology. We are constantly looking at cycles and historical cycles, and I think you would have to live on an island far, far away if you had missed out of the current, situation that's unfolding on Earth today, and it's scaring us good all. But you are in a situation where you're a little bit in the middle of it because you have a sister who's currently in Kiev, right? Yeah.
Near Kiev, like 40 kilometers from Kiev.
Yeah, and how,
And
I mean, and you are sitting from the outside of the situation in Tel Aviv and looking at it. But the reason I was curious to ask you about some intel or some information is that you know the Russian people from inside very well. And how do you, you probably you're in touch with a lot of Russians these
yeah,
days,
sure.
right? Yeah. How do they
Well,
feel about everything?
well, so what your question is about Russian people now?
Yeah, Russian people. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about your sister
Okay,
after.
Russian society, as I see, is divided into parts now,
In two
deeply
parts, yeah.
deeply divided with a big gap between. Most of Russians they are like for they're okay with what is happening. We have this propaganda flow every day, 24 hours per 7 days a week, and well, like if I made a face that it's not near me, it's not near me.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, okay, yeah.
So we're trying to explain it because that it is right.
Yeah.
What government says. It says that it's like a peaceful operation of
Ah,
denazification, as they say, de-Nazi. Okay,
yeah.
they say that Ukrainian government are Nazi, and there are children suffering, and I don't know, old people suffering from these Nazi guys.
Hmm.
Okay, this is shit. Excuse
It
me
is
for,
shit,
for
yeah.
my French.
Yeah.
Okay, uh,
Shit.
the on the elections in Ukraine on last elections, maybe less than 3% were for the parties that are nationalists.
Yeah, yeah. Less
Less
than
than 3%.
3%.
Their president is a Jew.
Yes.
Who Nazi?
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on. Okay,
Yeah.
but Russian people like they believe that
You believe
because
that, yeah.
it's on TV, and my friends believes in that, and it's hard to speak to talk to them, and I'm trying to
Ah.
break these connections now, and many people uh, write giving me sending me comments and direct mails in which they are saying that we are afraid of saying something. Like it is hard for them to speak to their relatives.
Yeah.
For example, one of my friends, he called me like he was almost crying because his mom told him that he is a traitor
Oh.
because he is against of that war.
Oh.
Okay. What else? They have new laws that doesn't give you a chance to express your feelings, express your opinion, and say that you're against war. In my native city, the old man was reading poetry from the
Mhm.
book on the city square,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. No, very
police
good.
police arrested him for reading poems. Literally, I'm not kidding you.
Jesus.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
could you
they're really
imagine that?
hard, huh?
It's it's 2024 now. He's reading. He's old man.
Yeah.
He's reading poetry, and he's being arrested. This is ridiculous. This is scary. And okay, so the society is divided, and small part is normal people. Excuse
Yeah.
me. This is my opinion, and they are against war. We're trying to express that in a like safe way,
Mm,
but uh, the government does its best to bury that people. They
mm,
don't need them. Okay, so a huge amount of Russians are now like in the line to emigrate to Israel, to relocate to Armenia, to Georgia, to Europe, if they have the opportunity to do that.
yes, if
And,
they're
I had like 20 or 25 friends who called me and asked to tell them about how to relocate to Israel,
mm,
how is expensive or not, what to do, and so on
mm.
and so forth.
Yeah, yeah.
So I see the situation is quite. It's not quite. It's extremely dangerous for a country. Okay, what Russia does in Ukraine, it's a war crime, literally, exactly. It's
Mm,
genocide. Okay, they are bombing. It's not like a operation on the borders or to protect this territory in Donbass, Lugansk, Donetsk. It's not about that. It's all over the Ukraine. I know what is the then you are under war, okay?
mm.
Because I live for 3 years in for 3 years in Israel, and I year ago it was a it
Yeah, I
was
remember.
10 days
Mm,
with bombing every day from
yeah.
Gaza and from Gaza Strip.
Mm.
And I have to tell you, this is really scary. I'm taking your baby, you're taking a dog, and
Yeah.
you are running to your bomb shelter that is in your house down there. And this is really, really scary. I know that we have a Iron Dome system. I know that everything gonna be okay. But
Mm.
when the siren stops and you are going out and you saw this blue, nice sky and this dark clouds of
Yeah.
explosions in it. It's really scary. It's like it's
It's,
surrealistic.
yeah, yeah.
And I know what is that. And now in Ukraine, we don't have Iron Dome there. We have army, but a Russian army is pretty big. It's pretty strong, and they're doing their best to smash Ukrainian army. And of course, there are a lot of civilians who are struggling and dead people, children, kids.
But why do you think he's doing it? I mean, what do you think is the real
Because
reason?
he's a psycho.
He is a psycho, yeah. Because you're
I
like,
don't have any explanation of that. I
yeah.
don't have.
So you really think, the power went to his head because Putin's been on it for 22 years now, and he's been fixing and mixing and
You have to stay normal
correcting.
after 22 years of being on the top.
Yeah,
You have to shift.
yeah. He was
That's why we
prime
have
minister for a
progressive.
while, and
That's why we
then
have elections.
yeah,
That's why.
yeah.
And it's hard, and people allow him to do that.
But
It's okay for them.
you were in Russia when Putin got elected last time, probably, and you saw
Yeah.
how he sort of dealt with the opposition because they say that the elections weren't uh, tampered with or fixed, but that the opposition was suppressed. That
Smashed,
it was
smashed.
smashed. It was smashed. That's the word you would use. Yeah, because I've been wondering about that because sometimes in my Western perspective, sitting from where I'm sitting and watching the world and having to get information from sources, either it's from the media or it's from people or it's from um, more fringe places online, like conspiracy theories or whatnot. It's very hard to kind of understand what's been going on, when you don't know as much as you would like to, and that's why I actually wanted to ask you about, what do you think is going on inside Putin's head? Because I
I'm
think,
I'm not a believer in some conspiracy theories. More of that, I'm thinking that conspiracy theories are very easy food for you.
yes,
I made a video about that not so long ago. It was about the coronavirus. Why do people believe in conspiracy theories? Why? Because
yeah,
you have a gap, you have like a lacume inside, you have the vacuum inside. When something happens, something big happens, and you have to fill it with something. And you are taking what is like this cotton candy, right? It's a sugar. It's not a food, but you are eating. It's nice. It's tasty. It's like pink, but it's not a food. Okay, and you are eating it. It's big, but conspiracy theories are cotton candies for
yes,
you, and that's why. And after that, when you have facts, you have arguments, you are not arguing, you are not taking them because you already have the cotton candy inside. So
that's true.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
my point.
But your sister lives in Kiev, but she's Russian too. But I mean, how is the relationship between Russians and Ukrainians, for
I
instance?
don't
And
think
like,
she's Russian anymore because she had been living there for like 25 year, 20
oh,
plus
so she
years.
lost her Russian citizenship and she became like a
She lost her Russian citizenship. As she told me, she made a took an envelope, put her passport in, and she made a very rude letter, and she sent it to the embassy or to Kremlin or to someone. She's a tough, she's a tough one.
yeah, she's tough. Yeah.
So
Well,
she has a Ukrainian husband. She has Ukrainian kids, and she's Ukrainian.
are they planning on getting out of Kiev or
I was trying to convince her, but she rejected.
really? Oh, Jesus. Well, I just hope that something will happen soon. I mean, these wars are very destructive these days with all these type of modern weaponry, and we have now,
I hope
yeah, and
everything's
it's
gonna be
like aiming
okay.
at civilians. It's really strange. You go straight to where people are, and that's not I want to go back in time when people were like, okay, so come on, let's fight it back to fist to fist, like, so it's more fair, like it's a more fair battle. It's man to man.
Oh, so when I saw that, and I see when I'm looking at those pictures, those videos from the battlefield,
Yeah.
I hadn't been crying such a lot for years.
Mm.
I literally don't have any more tears. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. It's like when I woke up that morning, that everything happened. I opened the news feed and I saw it, and it was like a shock,
Yeah.
completely shock. And I still have this stone inside my chest. Still have it. Really, I'm not kidding. Really.
Well, I think we all felt it. It was so the timing was couldn't have been worse. We just had to deal with this COVID for such a long time, and then now this. And
Sure, but then something happens, something like that. Imagine, for example, you are working and you see the news like Norway attacked Finland, for
yeah, yeah,
example.
yeah. So
It's your
strange.
country,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, and your country is cruel, and your country is doing something unbelievable, evil, pure evil, and you are part of that, and you let that go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to a certain degree, I don't know how much you can blame people who's been suppressed for a long time. Like I've done pretty much, like Stalin. First, you had to deal with Stalin for such a long time. It was like, wow. And then there's this, and then there's that. It's been so much, and now there's this, and it's like, um, how much can you blame people when they've been exposed to propaganda, when they've been under propaganda? Like how much what is their true responsibility if they really don't have no idea what to believe in? And as you say, they're scared. I saw the new rules that are now being put into effect, and there was been also some demonstrations around independent news channels, for instance, or in Russia, that they've been just shutting down everything and
Mhm.
just leaving the studios because they don't want to be part of it anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's gonna
the
and
Bosch channel and the Echo of Moscow, they
yes,
just closed.
Yeah, I saw that. And, they're looking at 10 to 12 years of prison for having an opinion against this, like, so it's really like, I mean, I can understand the level of fear that's in the people, that they just, like everybody else, just wants to live normal lives. But of course, it's all our responsibility to get informed today, so that we can have at least know to be on the side of the
No,
truth.
it's not. It's not like they closed them not because of the information that they had been giving. It
Oh,
was
okay.
like a gesture of to people because he wants people to be scared. And when he closing the TV, closing radio, he's poisoning the opposition leader and put him into the jail.
Yes.
Okay, everything. It's everything about fear.
Mm.
Okay, because
Yeah.
the fire, it's only I don't know. They have in Russian the expression "колосс на глиняных ногах." It's like a colossus on the um, feet of clay, like a
Colossus on the
colossus.
feet of clay, like a big giant
Yeah,
statue
yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
his feet are clay,
Ah,
and these feet are fear.
this is.
That's why he is on.
Ah, yes.
Because if people are scary, if
Yeah,
you are ruling with fear, you can rule, you can control them.
that's
You read
exactly.
all those anti utopia books, right? 1984
Yeah, yeah. Read them.
and about fear, right?
Yes.
It's about fear. If it's not about prosperity, you can rule your country when you give your people prosperity, when
Yes.
you provide it. But if you don't if you're a thief like he is and his close circle, okay, they are thieves. They stole
Yeah.
everything, and
Oh, yeah. They do.
you feel my anger, right?
Yeah, yeah. But
um,
I'm good. And like, this is, yes. Thank you.
but
I'm.
this is true. Okay, they
Mm,
stole everything, everything. They
yes.
stole my money and money of my family, everything.
Yeah, and the future of your children
And
and
the future
everything,
of my
and the
children,
future
that's
of
why I'm here.
Russia, the
Yeah,
future of
yeah,
Russia. This is why
yeah.
I've been so mad, because he's destroying not only for the Ukrainians, he's also destroying for the Russians. This has been, like, this is the chance for us all to sort of live in a more free world, if we have it now, but it's been taken away from the Russians right now. And
He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that.
no, of course not.
He want to live like in North Korea, okay, in this
Yeah.
isolated space with no internet, with no gadgets, with nothing, eating some, I don't know, potatoes.
Yeah, good old fashioned separatism. So, what do you think? What would be, the best for how do you think a proper response to the conflict would be from the West? What would you want them to do if
I
you had?
think that more of plus minus that what is happening now, it's okay. It's like a sanctions, restrictions, and economic war.
Yeah.
I think that only way to raise Russian people is poverty. When they will face the Russian people, they like for last 10 or 15 years, it
Yes.
was like a years of prosperity.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
got the
for
money.
the
Yeah,
higher class, okay,
yeah.
iPhones and expensive cars
And
and so on,
traveling,
traveling, right?
traveling.
And this is about his close circle, his friends, their children, politics, and so on and so forth. For
Mm.
that people, for this 3% of higher society in Russia, and now we will face poverty. We will not have a chance to study. I think this like cancel culture now it's spreading. Okay,
Yeah.
and I think it will be I think Western world will cancel all the Russian. All those Russian people who had these expensive houses
Yeah,
abroad.
that's happening now. The
Yeah, and
oligarchs.
I'm completely happy about that.
You
That's okay.
completely. Yeah, yeah,
I'm so sorry to say that, but I'm happy about that.
yeah,
And I think this is only one way to raise Russian
yeah,
people from this deep dream uh, is the poverty,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
So
because Putin had a lot of these rich men around him, like they've been supporting him to a certain degree due to the power structures, how everything works, and you rub my back, I rub yours, this type of thing. They got, but a
Yeah,
lot,
like a little bit disappointed now
yeah,
because they are out of everything, and I hope maybe will be some group of people who will like
rise up.
stop him.
Yes,
I stop him in some way.
yeah. And how do you feel as a Russian living abroad now? Do you feel that people's energies have been changing to
No,
Russia?
Israel is not a good example
No.
because Israel is full of Russian-speaking people from Ukraine, from
Ah,
Russia, from
okay.
former Union territories, and I think we have like 10 million people here living here, and 2 million people speaks Russian.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
in some way, and the country were made by people from Russian Empire. Most of them were like from the Jews from Russian Empire. This is very very Russian speaking friendly country, and I don't think that. But my daughter, she studies in school, and she's almost 17, and she's saying that she feels some. It's not a bullying, but like some jokes about
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
and she's not happy with that. But I've been to a big demonstration, right? It's a
Mm.
right word
Yeah,
here
demonstration. Yeah.
in Tel Aviv. It was 15,000 people here that went to the Rothschild Boulevard to go from the start to the end of the street to with their flags of Ukraine, with anti-Putin signs, and they were shouting. It was very big, and I think it was one of the biggest demonstrations
Yeah, I think so too.
in
15,000.
Israel for years, and that was a big one.
And
And I
there's been
saw
there's been demonstrations in Russia as well.
all
So,
over the world, but
yeah, yeah,
except Russia. In Russia, there are a small quantity of people that are not that doesn't don't afraid to go to express their thoughts and uh, things on the streets, but they are cruelly and cruelly police
yeah. Mm.
cruelly. I forgot the word. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. They're being treated cruelly by
Just,
the
just,
police.
just treated cruelly, right?
Yeah.
And that's that's it. But my friends, some of my friends went to the streets, and I'm really proud that I know them. This is a
Yeah.
big,
Wow.
big bravery,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it doesn't cost me nothing to go and demonstrate here
and
in
as
Norway.
well
It
as for
doesn't
me,
cost
right?
me nothing. I don't have to pay a price. I can go back home and
Yeah.
sleep and be safe.
And they're risking with everything that they
They're
have,
risking everything.
career,
Yeah.
money, and everything.
Well, thank God. I think, this would have been so much more different, this conflict, if we didn't have the internet and if we didn't have, for instance, WhatsApp. I keep touch with my friends in Moscow through WhatsApp, and so, so I'm getting to know people a little bit inside as well, which is, I think is a good thing, because eventually I hope, my fingers are crossed and everything is, I really hope that that this will come out, that people will start more and more from the inside of Russia also to see these things and have the courage to know, and also know that the world is
I hope so.
supporting them. I think when if they knew that we were supporting them and we're not hostile. I mean, I'm not
The
hostile.
scary thing that I think the scary thing that if, for example, 10,000 people will go to the streets to express their anti-Putin thoughts,
Sentiments.
100,000 people will go out to smash them,
Oh,
civilian, their
really?
friends, their neighbors, and as I told you previously, the country, the society is divided deeply.
Yes.
They have a really big gap between
Yeah.
these parts. Big gap.
Yeah. But we see this a little bit also, in, for instance, the United States. You also see it's not that severe, it's not that violent, but there's like this big gap between liberals and the right side. It's almost like to the level, like everything is so polarized and so extreme these days. It's like you're either this or that. But like I have a friend from Latvia. He's half Russian, half Latvian, and for years I've been asking him about Putin because I started thinking about this. How good is it that he's fixing the elections like that? How good is it that he's suppressing the opposition, etc., and so forth? So I wanted to ask my friend. So, what do you think about Putin? This is a young man, and he said, "Well, Putin's gonna, he's gonna make Russia great again. He's gonna make us so strong and so great." And
Not anymore. Ask
not
him again.
anymore.
Ask him again.
Yeah.
Putin buried everything that he that he made for these 20 years. He buried everything in these 2 weeks. Everything. No, there is no anymore world leader. Putin.
No, exactly.
No chance. Not a chance.
I did ask him again, actually. I asked him this weekend, and then he said, no, Putin's gone crazy. That's what he said now. He's here in town, so he's gone crazy now. What the hell is he doing? And then but he also continued the propaganda about the Nazis in the Ukraine and stuff like that, So I was like, where is this coming from? I mean, it's quite hard for me to swallow that this is a denazification process. For me, that's really hard. But then again, if you look a little bit online, for instance, to conspiracy theories, for instance, in particular, they will have loads and loads of evidence of militant, this group and that underground, like all these special ops military situations that are information about it, and it's really like something that people really really believe in, that's
because
why
it's cotton candy.
it's cotton candy.
Now if you are like you could take a lot of evidence now from the open sources. You saw it, and I don't think that it could be any other point of view. We know who are Nazis now, and what are they doing now in Ukraine. It's a war crime, and I hope it will be judgment for them. And I hope this blame will stop one day. Germans, they having this blame feeling for generations.
They've been carrying the guilt for years.
Yeah. For years, and I think that unfortunately Russia now in the same situation. And we're gonna be sorry for that for decades, for I don't know, for generations.
Yes, exactly.
That's what.
Well, let's just hope for some divine intervention. That's what my last hope is, like, divine intervention, please. Can somebody we need somebody.
I'm waiting for miracle. It's gonna be a Purim celebration in Israel in March, and it's like it's a holiday about the miracle, as most of Jewish holidays. It's a holiday about evil and evil and
evil and good and evil.
Okay, so good and evil, right? So good will fight evil and it will win, for sure, because this is history. Okay,
so it has to be so, because we're done. Most people would agree with me that most of us just wants to figure out how to trust each other again and how to be friends, because it is so destructive. Here we go, we clean up a lot of shit, and then the moment after, we destroy it again. What's the point? We have kids wanting to go out, and like your daughter and my son, he's also 17, who's ready to go and just embrace the world and embrace living, which is such a precious thing. So
I think our children, they're much more better than us, really, than us.
Yes, they're smarter. Absolutely, thank God. And they've been born and bred into this world of information that's for us a little bit hard to deal with, but they seem to be doing okay. So I have a lot of hope for the future. It's not that it's been taken away from me. Not even COVID or a war or anything can take away that spirit. So for Purim, let's ask for a proper miracle.
A miracle, right?
Yeah, proper miracle. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. So it was very nice to have that type of conversation. Thank you for your questions and for giving me a chance to express what do I feel.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the work and everything you send out. It's been very educational for me to follow. So thank you.
I hope we will repeat one day, okay? And after the war, okay?
After the war, I'm in.